So this is about technical aspect about the how ChatGPT is being trained, and then we can actually use this for many other applications. Like now, this ChatGPT is being used for new research direction. I already told about simpler explanatory graphics for scientific setup, virtual teaching. Generating content for course material, question and exam paper settings. These are some applications. Some of the available tools in the recent time, I think many people already discussed this thing, but maybe it's a repetition. But I will talk about some of the tools. Let's say if you are interested in the music and song composition, so there are tools like Voice Mod, Boomi, AIVA, Meta AI. So these kind of a sound raw, these are the AI's engine which is available. You can give what kind of a pitch you want, what sound you want, male, female. Based on your mood, it can generate the music. Suppose you are happy, then it will generate happy music, and if you are sad, you want to generate sad music. So you can. So humans are very good at subjective inputs. Let's say we don't really quantify things. We say good, bad, very good, very bad. We don't give 0.5, 0.6 numbers. We don't use. But the subjective assessment has been converted into numbers, and then you can generate the music using such kind of applications. And then if you want to do creative writing, so all of you already use ChatGPT for many applications. Yesterday, Honorable Minister also, read a poem generated by ChatGPT. So we know that ChatGPT, how powerful it is. Although there are some drawbacks also is there. We will discuss those things later. But we can generate academics text. We can generate some kind of answers. I think Professor Viraj might have also talked about how assessment would be done if I allow the ChatGPT to write an essay for me, and then how there's a challenge among faculty. How are we going to allow students to use ChatGPT in their studies, or we are going to ban this ChatGPT, or we allow them to use partially and then acknowledge that they have used ChatGPT, and how as a faculty we can use ChatGPT for a better assessment. Can we pinpoint the errors that ChatGPT would make, and then give question to student which allow them to think more about the subject rather than just generating an answer and getting a grade. So that kind of questions are still open. I think a lot of debates and discussions are required for faculty, whether we will permit or not, whether you permit or not, they will going to use it anyway. So we have to be prepared for how we can do assessment, better assessment. That is one such question. People also use for question framing and answering. This is another, this app, Qlinios. So you can actually upload text from the whatever paragraph. So different subject. Suppose you are talking about history or medical or technology, you can upload the text and it will generate set of question answer that you can ask student to answer and then check whether they are correct or not. Okay, that way whether they have understood the paragraph which you have pasted in the text. Again, these are all not free. You have to pay some subscription fee, but some questions you can definitely ask for free. I worked in computer vision and image processing area, so we use this. A lot of these tools are there. We don't use, but we try to. Sometimes we have to use for training our model. Suppose I need more images on some particular subject. Although we write our own code for generating images, but typically the idea is same. They use some. You give a textual query and then they will generate image for. Suppose I asked yesterday to generate a temple near a river, a lot of mountains are nearby. It generated a very nice picture of a Buddhist temple. There is a river, then the background there's a snowy mountain. There is no such place might exist, but they kind of generate based on the questions you give. So that kind of a capability they have. They look very fancy now, may not be much useful immediately, but I think later when we club with multiple such modality, it might become a very powerful tool. Like people are asking that how we can create content which is more interesting to the students. So I think for student like under UKG, LKG, they need more pictorial input rather than more cartoonish kind of picture which they can learn. So I think everybody cannot draw the cartoon, so we can use this AI engine to generate our concept that we want to use and embed into our kits, and that can be used to generate such things. These are some kind of various tools one can use. People can use for presentation making. I saw this our Professor Achyutanand talk about AI cannot generate the PPTs, but can generate PPT, may not be as beautiful as that he has done. But you can give, text and then what kind of audience you are going to address, and it can generate some kind of a presentation for you, and then you can modify that presentation and then save your time in doing better things. That is another idea. One can use this AI presentation maker. Then AI-powered building design. So a lot of people do work with the architecture, and then they want to design some good, buildings. So there are tools which can again be useful in designing very good, better buildings. So you can condition on various aspects. Any person who doesn't know architecture also can use this tool and then go with his design to architect or to civil engineer, and then say, okay, I want this, and just check the feasibility later, because finally it has to build. So the capacity and the structural strength and other thing has to be checked by the civil engineer and the architect. But essentially, you can go with a design and then see what design you are interested. People are also using in automobile design. Let's say if you see this particular thing, we have a product aesthetic design. This is a machine learning augmentation. So now we are not only interested to buy a machine, but also the how the machine looks. So actually, many cars are, lot of investment people do for designing the interior of the car, how the car shape would look like, how the color we should choose. So those kind of aesthetical aspect which actually decide the commercial value of the product. Engine, maybe everybody may be using some same engine, but the aesthetic value and the material they use can actually play a big role in the deciding the selling of a particular car. And that actually can be definitely useful by generative AI. One can use these ideas to design various product concept and then materials, and then what would sell, what would not sell, and then reasoning can be done also using that. People are also using machine learning for drug formulation developments. This is one paper published recently. There they say that, okay, I have some particular drug to be designed, and then I have a disease in my mind. So then they give those inputs, and then the generative engine would give you the possible, formula for creating that drug, and then it can be useful in even drug discovery as well. So these people are using for drug formulation, material engineering as well. This Cadence is a very big company for designing these chips. They actually do a lot of chip designing, and they have a software which is very expensive. People actually using for various profiling. So they come up with a Cadence, a joint enterprise data and AI, JED AI, they saw it, and that actually can help this you to design compact chips, and then also it can be helpful in then coming up with a you give it particular use case, and then it will come up with a design of a transistor, how the configuration would happen, power supply, and all those kind of a concept. They can help you in circuitry engineering and designing for sensors, and then come up with a full 3D printed prototype that you can send to Foundry, and then it will generate. You can print that thing and then use that particular chip in different applications. So because you need to have a lot of expensive engineers to know the design Cadence software, and then many times the debugging part of that would be very difficult, and there is a lot of expenditure you have to make before you really print that circuit, and that delay in the pipeline actually causes so much delay in the various aspects. So you can actually use some of the design which is possible to done by the AI, and only fine tuning can be done by the expert engineer. That can be done also using this. So Cadence also uses this particular tool. People are also using in there are some questions that whether ChatGPT can understand physics or not. So now people are working on developing embedding kind of a knowledge in these generative engine. So you explain the physical concept to them, and then so they will do both ways. So you tell the physical concept, they will come up with an experiment for you, and then if you tell the experiment, they will tell the physical phenomena that might be undergoing in that experiment. So such kind of a work is also happening, where physicists are and chemists are now using generative AI for different application, and then a lot of development is happening in that area, where Schrodinger wave type of equation, and then various complicated differential equations and coupled equation using AI models for solve problem which is not been solved by a conventional way, or a lot of open problem has been solved by now these AI applications. People are also using in manipulator design. Let's say I work in intelligent robotics, so we have to buy these actuators and then design our 7-DoF robotic arm. So now if I have certain tasks to do, I can actually come up with a 3D model of a arm by giving a prompt to the particular AI engine, and then it can generate a manipulator or kind of a 3D CAD model for the entire robotic arm, and then I can just print it and then use it. So that's kind of a, people are using generative AI for not only for textual thing, but also for the computer vision and robotic manipulation kind of a task. So it can generate robotic manipulation, although a lot of work is still remaining to use print it and then check whether characterize it, whether it is working as for the human like design or not. But nevertheless, there is no there is no hurry in this thing. I think once we design one model, improve the next model will be better than the previous model. So I think these use cases are very specific to particular domain of applications. People are also using in rainfall prediction. So it's a remote sensing application. We have a project with the East Track Bangalore, where they are having sounding radars, and then ground radars are basically taking the various weather kind of a data, and then they want to do a prediction of the rainfall or some kind of a weather prediction. So this particular paper talks about how this weather radar data can be useful in short-term rainfall prediction. Again, they use something called conditional generative adversarial neural network to predict the weather or rain in, let's say, 1 hour or half an hour time duration, and that kind of a application people are also using. People are also, like most of the people, like they are afraid of maths, they also afraid of the programming, and then because of this codex or open AI codex, many people are now able to learn these things on their own, because teaching, there are finding teachers for such thing is not very easy. You have to take admission in some college, which is also a very difficult thing, and then you have to cross some exam, and then the faculty would be teaching whether you know that a lot of uncertainties are there. So most of the time people are trying to become self-learner, and if you are trying to learn self things, so I think this open AI codec or Copilot thing would be definitely useful in learning programming. And then but we should also train them how to understand which is a good program, which is a bad program, and what kind of error an AI can make. And at least we will see in future, most of the industry would be migrating to this open AI kind of a coding environment, and then we have to really do the bug fixing on the code generated by AI rather than our own bugs. So I think that the job profile of the software developer would be changing in recent time. So when see, the generative AI can also be have a lot of benefits, and also some of the implications are also there. Some kind of a bad effects also can happen. So while Gen AI might be helping researcher generate useful text and other output to support their work, it is not necessarily a straightforward process. It can take multiple iteration of a prompt before the desired output is achieved. A worry is that young learners, because they are by definition less expert than teachers, might unknowingly and without critical engagement accept Gen AI output that is superficial and inaccurate or even harmful. So we have to also train them how to rationally use generated content. Don't blindly believe, because there are people in the world who are not exposed to technologies. They actually believe whatever comes in the internet is correct. That I think very wrong. We know that a lot of false information, fake news are being propagated, and now we have a image generation. We can just make any such image and then post it on a social media. So I think there are tools. Again, technology can only provide the tools. Social learning has its own role, but there's a limitation. But technology can only help us to tell whether it's a generated content or it's a real content, and then we need to target technology to only defeat the technology. Otherwise, it is not going to work. So some kind of a controversies and implication for education. So it's kind of a we are worsening the digital poverty. We are outpacing the national regulation adaptation. We are using the content without the consent So we now chase the, so nobody asks consent, to just take the content from the internet and then we use. So what it condition on, or which particular textbook it has inferred to, and this output. So there's kind of a reasoning. How is called basically understanding how this output is generated, what might have lead to. So it's kind of look like a black box to us now. We ask something, we generate output. What is happening in the process is no idea. Okay, so that black box thing has to be mitigated, and then we have to bring more output in this particular aspect. And then AI generated content is also polluting the internet. So a lot of now AI generated images are there, so you don't know what is right and what is wrong. And it also causes the lack of understanding of the real world. So we live in the virtual world most of the time. And okay. So I will try to finish fast. Okay, and then so I will just go some of the aspects. So generative AI will be our future. So there are some examples. Okay, there are some examples how these images are being generated by the generative AI, and you see that it can cause hallucination, abusive language usage, biased data set. Huge money and computational resources are involved in this particular setup, and data set inherited limitation. How do we really talk about how to build this data set? And credibility is also one of the important issue in the generative AI. These are some comparison between Google and the Chat GPT. You can see that if you ask literature review on point out registration, it is the giving only the paper, but it will list you the possible. So the student would be interested in more reading this thing rather than reading all this paper, so that he gets a summary of this thing. And then you can also ask this question to add numbers, and then it can generate some kind of a Python generated code, and it can also explain the error. Suppose you are getting what this error means and then how to solve these errors in the programming. You can generate some kind of a text pictures like this. Okay, so these are the work which our lab we are doing. We are actually using generative AI to generate some kind of atmospheric turbulence because we don't have data for that. So we're generating using mathematical equations and the GANs to create some data set for our training. And also we are generating RGB IR pair for person re-identification training. I'm not going to details of this thing. So I hope these references would be useful to you. And if any questions are there, I will be very happy to answer. But thank you very much for your attention. Yes.
Sir, what about the bug fixing by utilizing ChatGPT? And what is the credibility crisis regarding its credibility?
So bug fixing definitely can be done. So suppose you are getting some bug in some program, you can ask this search. We search in Google and then we look for some kind of a repository where some people have described those bugs, and then we read them and try to fix our bug in the software development. But now you can ask this question, okay, what this bug is in the ChatGPT. It might have a database where all these bugs has been listed, and then it will tell you the possible answer that you can use, and then you try it. If it works, you are lucky, but there is no credibility of it. So they don't, so like we discussed about, we don't label any confidence right now. So whatever we generate with a full confidence. So I think the ChatGPT is overconfidence. So it has to also list out the probability. So if you really work on the development of the ChatGPT, you will see that the generated output has certain probability. So how certain we are with a certain numbers, I think if you can plug in that also into ChatGPT, we might be able to take a rational view whether how confident even AI engine is about my question, and then I can trust or I can believe his output and then use it for my usage. Right now we completely believe because there is no such confidence score we show. But if I have another table where I just show, okay, how much confidence about each word I am, and then overall sentence, and then those confidence actually would help us to understand how credible this particular output. So right now we cannot question. We have to use our wisdom to understand whether it's right or wrong. So black box again. So when I ask, let's say suppose some generation, let's say I have something in mind which I want to generate. But there is no mind reading ChatGPT can do. Unless basically they have certain aspect that they can read our mind, because each individual have a different questions. I want to generate something which I have in mind, but other person has something else in mind. So that whenever we facial expression and then some kind of a feedback from the humans can be also, let's say we have a camera which also see our expression, and then based on that it generates the output. So it's AI, generated AI means for an individual you will have a ChatGPT for you, and ChatGPT for a particular person would be completely different, and based on your usage of your work you will be generating certain output. So this personalization of generative AI would be a future I see in the long run.